Welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy Network podcast, brought to you by PlayNFC.com.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the High Stakes Fantasy Network podcast. I'm your host, Greg Ambrosius, and this is the final interview of our NFBC Champions podcast week. Man, it's been a fun week. I interviewed 4 2024 national champions: Clark Olson, main event; Steve Weimer, draft champions; Jason Weir, online auction championship; Mike Mager yesterday, the auction championship winner. We end the week with one of the best players in the NFBC history, actually in all of fantasy baseball history. That's NFBC Hall of Famer, my good friend, John Pausma. John, welcome to the show.
Hello, Greg. Hey, thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. John's a Packers fan, just like myself. I decorated my entire offense just for this interview, John. All right.
Yeah,
so
nice.
Fatheads here. I got a Packer t-shirt on right now for you. So go Pack, go. Hey, I got to ask you, 2025, is that the year we win our 5th Lombardi title, our 14th NFL title, or did we take a step back last year?
Last year was a little disappointing, especially at the end. But I think they've got the right combo. LaFleur and I think LaFleur and Love are the right combo. I think they're still like the youngest team in the league. I have high expectations for next year.
Me too. Yes. I mean, we were 11-4. Yes, we lost at Minnesota. Stunker against Chicago and such. But no, this is a good team. And Goody's got to make the difference this offseason, right? He's got plenty of cap room now. We're rid of the Rodgers cap hit. So big offseason. Pass rusher, wide receiver 1. Look out. We're going to be good here.
The division is going to be tough too, right? Even the Bears are going to be okay, I think, unfortunately.
Best division in football, no doubt about it. So, but that's what we want. So here we go. So, all right. Now you live in Illinois. You know, that's a long ways from Wisconsin. You're a former cheesehead. Do I call you still a cheesehead or a former cheesehead?
Oh, you know the answer to that. If you're a cheesehead once, you're always a cheesehead. So you're right. I did grow up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. I guess that's where I learned hard work, and actually that's where my rate stats started. Like just as a kid, milking cows. We had 56 cows and 4 milk machines going at once, right? And I would just time it out and say, okay, we're projected to be done at this time, right? So back then I was like, just always thinking about numbers, and we had to get done in time to, you know, at a certain time. Then I would compare it to the night before. Oh, we're 4 minutes later than last night, and cows must be giving more milk tonight or whatever. But then once the Brewer game came on the radio, then we kind of just listened to that. So.
There you go. So we talked about this. I mean, Uke was so important in your life, right? I mean, both of us, we didn't have the Brewers on TV every night back then in the 70s and the early 80s. We listened to Uker. We really did. And he was such a part of our life. I don't think people in America realize how important he was to this franchise. I mean, I think he's the best radio announcer ever, but the stories that he could tell in a blowout, he just never left it. And to lose him this year, I know, you know, it affects both of us, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. He was a very big part of it.
Yeah, no doubt. So, all right. I haven't even mentioned this yet. The reason you're on here is because you won the 2024 Rotowire Online Championship. You won that $150,000 grand prize. We're going to talk about that right now. But you know what? That was a wild race to the finish line. You, Daniel Baker, Tyler Young, I know Tyler. He's from Eagle River, Wisconsin. You guys were in the top 3 that whole last week, swapping spots, going back and forth. You kind of pulled away over the weekend. You still had the Monday doubleheader makeup. Right. That still could have affected you guys. But talk about that finish in that one, because that was a hell of a finish.
Yeah, that was a pretty good team, right? You know, all the way through. I think it moved all the way up to, you know, in the top 10 about halfway through week 11 or so. And then it hovered near the top, you know, top 5 a little bit, never got to 1 at the end of a period until the last period. So
really?
I guess that's a good period to be at the top. But no, at the All-Star break, the team was like 79th percentile in runs and 57th percentile in homers. So it was a little little behind on that, but then that last couple of weeks, I think the second to last week, Ohtani had a huge week, and the whole team, I think I had 18 homers in a week, and
Wow.
yeah, so it vaulted it to the top, and then going into that Monday game, it was pretty much done.
Right.
There wasn't enough players or enough stats left to catch me, I think.
Right. And for all three of you guys, didn't really have a lot of Braves and Mets going at
Right.
that time.
That's
But
right.
it
Yeah.
was the weekend. But
Yeah.
hell of a race.
Those two are really good players. Both
Yeah.
of them. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, Tyler, I've told you the story before, but I moved up north and my wife had to buy furniture for a cottage that I bought up there. And I go to this store in Eagle River. I don't know who it is. And the guy gives me his card and it's like Bob Jung. And I'm like, my goodness, do you have a son named Tyler? He goes, yeah, he's in the finance department. He'll give you a loan for the furniture. Tyler comes out, and it was 2020, so we had masks on. We
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
even know each other. And sure enough, it's Tyler there. So pretty
Oh,
cool.
that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, but good kid for sure and a good player. All right, so this is your third NFBC national title. You won the main event overall title 2018. You won the NFBC $50 Draft Champions National Championship in 2021. Man, you've even won our NFFC primetime overall title. That's 4 titles in our contest. All of them are great, great accomplishments. But, how does this one rate, or are they all children that you love?
Well, you love to win whichever contest, right? That's what you're trying to do. But in terms of the online championship, it's the one that has the most teams you're competing against. So from that perspective, it's the most prestigious or most accomplished or whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, the main event is still the main event, and that's the one, right? So, you're always trying to win whatever you're playing, but I still think the main event is the top contest.
Yeah, but this one had 2,736 teams, so
right.
You can do the percentages in milking cows, but your percentages were against you in this one, right?
Yeah, they were.
All right, but you did have 13 Rotowire Online Championship teams, so you had a couple of dart throws in here, but you won 7 league titles last year. You finished 1st overall, 7th overall, 61st overall. You had another team, Cash, finishing 2nd. 3 others finished 3rd. None of your teams finished lower than 5th. What is it about this 12-team format that you have mastered? And I mean it, man. You've mastered this 12-team format. What is it about that?
Well, maybe I just don't know the player pool beyond 360. That's as far as I can go. So I just study that right there, and stick to
I don't think so. You won the 15-teamer and a $50 DC with 50 rounds, so you're okay, dude.
I guess it's just solid drafting, good relentless fabbing, and and then some lineup decisions. And I think I just got a feel for the different contests a little bit, I guess, and what it would take to win a contest. And honestly, the fact that I had some 4th and 5th place, probably was too safe on those teams, right? So you almost have to really go for it when you're competing against that many teams. So I look at a 5th or 6th place finish, and I would say, well, probably didn't take enough chances. I should really be 8th or 9th or winning it, right?
Yeah.
You got to take a little bit more of a gamble on that. But then through fab and as the year goes, you can always improve your teams. And I'm just one of those guys that just won't ever give up on any team. And even if I could just move it one spot up, it's just a waste. I mean, it's not a great use of time to go after some of these teams, especially when you have a lot of teams, but I just can't help myself. I just gotta work everyone to every spot. But
you talked about the 3 aspects. It's the draft, it's fab, it's set lineup. I mean, what is the percentage? I mean, it's impossible, but what is that percentage, you think?
Yeah, I don't know. I think
you can't win without a good draft.
No,
right?
No, you got to have a decent draft, right? I definitely don't win all the drafts. I feel like if I can have a decent draft, I'm probably going to do okay because I think I can win the other 2 spots, right? I just need to draft a little bit better maybe on some teams, and but I don't know. It takes all 3, and it's a hard percentage to figure out.
No doubt about it. I mean, you can't build a good house without a good foundation, and that's what the draft is, really, I think.
Yeah.
And you can certainly add to it, but you have to have a foundation. So whether that's 60% or 70%, it doesn't matter. You need a good foundation, so you got to get out of the draft room.
And if you haven't played these season long and haven't just the fab part is a learning curve, right? For sure. And I don't even know how to describe it really, but everybody has their own procedures and their methods, right? And what works for one might not work for another. And but it seems like there's a lot of more tools out there than ever for people to shorten the curve a little bit, right? Like it took me a little bit to learn this fab for sure, but
hey, we've been talking about that all week. I mean, you talk about these podcasts that have come in the last 4 or 5 years, all of the online tools, even our ADPs, for crying out loud, which we used to not give to everybody. I mean, it has changed this market. I talked with Clark, who's been in 21 years, Mike, of course, and other people, but there are more tools to win and to learn how to play this game nowadays.
You've got people to tell us what to bid. So perfect.
Well, I mean, the average auction values, it used to be I would put my magazine out and I was kind of guessing at the auction values. And if I'd go to labor and I was like, hey, I was within $1, I was pretty damn good when I put this magazine out. But now the average auction values are right out there. So much easier.
You're to blame, Greg.
I guess so. That's okay, though. All right, let's talk about this main event. You won your 6th main event league title this year, finished 44th overall in the main. Like you said, I mean, that's the holy grail, right? You're always shooting for that one. You want to win the main event overall title. But what would it mean to win another one of those babies?
Right. That's the goal. It's hard, right? The drafters are so good.
Yeah.
The knowledge of the player pool is so good. It's not like there's so many great players. It's hard to even win a league, much less place in the overall. And it's really hard. But,
yeah, and more teams now. We had 855 last year.
First
year was 195, then 300, then 330. They just keep going up. So we're going to be in the 800 range, I would think, this year. So
yeah, nice job. That'd be great.
All right, so let's talk about the 15-team and the 12-team formats. I mean, very different, obviously. Are there certain categories that are harder to fill, like in the 15-team than the 12, or what's the
obviously the positional scarcity. I mean, the deeper player pool, the more positions you got to cover. I think 15 is harder, more of a challenge in terms of filling the roster with quality players up all the way through, and especially with this 2-catcher thing you're still doing, right, Greg?
Of course.
Of course. Got to have 2 catchers.
You have to.
Even though half of them are not worth it. But
someone's got to warm up your pitchers in the bullpen, so you need 2 of them on this team.
All right. You could have 2 utilities and 1 catcher.
No, you need 2, definitely. Yep.
No. But another thing with the 12, I think, is you're just going to have better players at each spot. So then I think it's really hard to take some of these guys that only do one thing, right? You take even a Luis Ariz, right? So ATC projects him. By the way, ATC was already declared the winner of the projections for 2025.
Have they?
Wow. Yeah.
Very good. By Ariel? Did he project?
Yeah, he proclaimed it, right? Yeah, you'll have to have him on next. Anyway, so he's probably going to have, I don't know. Well, Ariel said he's going to have 5 homers, right? So, I mean, if you roster him, just looking at that category, the bar is quite a bit higher for what you need to achieve as a team for home runs, and it comes out to somewhere around 23 or 24 homers a roster spot. And if you're taking a 5,
you need a 40 homer guy. Then
you need a 41 bopper next, right?
Right.
Not too many of those out there. So it's a little bit. Whereas on a 15, you can take that guy maybe and a little bit easier. But I think in the 12s, you really need the multiple category. You need to get the stats all the way.
I think when you leave a 15-teamer, you've got at least 1 hole.
Oh, for sure.
Right? I mean, you don't feel that way with a 12-teamer, although you say, hey, I only got 2 closers, other guys got 3 closers, that kind of thing. But, man, you leave a 15-teamer, you've got at least 1 hole. You got some work to do, right?
Yeah, for sure. And in auction, sometimes you leave more than 1 because of how you spend the money, right? So.
Yeah, right. Well, you love that. We'll talk about that far.
Yeah, sure.
But, all right, let's talk about this championship team, the Rotowire Online Championship team. You drafted March 14th, 10 p.m. Eastern time, drafted from the 8th spot. You took Shohei Ohtani. That seemed to be the common denominator out of a lot of national championship teams with Shohei, but you took him 8th overall. This was before the betting scandal, I believe, correct?
Yeah, this was middle of March, right? Yeah. So, well before that. It was a couple weeks before Vegas, I think, right? So
Yeah, 1
it
week
actually
before
was
Vegas, pretty much. Yep.
yeah, I think it was one of those beat expert leagues. Actually, it was a beat Peter Schenke league.
Oh,
I
was
think.
it? Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah,
right.
that's right. Yep.
So I got 90 days of free Rotowire too. So
That's even
bonus.
better than 150,000. What the heck?
Not quite.
Well, talk about Shoei, though. I mean, he's a UT, right? I mean, a lot of guys say, I'm not tying that up with
Oh
a
yeah.
UT.
So I mean, in a 12-teamer, and it's Otani, right? You could work around that pretty easy. You shouldn't be bothered at all by taking the UT in the 12-teamer.
About a 15-teamer.
15 a little bit. I mean, but it closes your options just a little bit. Obviously it takes a few players out of the pool when you take one out top, but it's a little more important in the 15 and the 12, but clogging it in the 12 for a guy like Otani, that's not a problem for sure.
You'll take 50-50 from any position, wouldn't you?
Right. Yeah, wow.
All right, you got Jose Ramirez in the second round. So you start out Otani, Ramirez, same start that Clark had in the main event. He got a 15-16, right? But they combined for 93 homers, 100 stolen bases, 240 plus RBIs, 240 plus runs. I mean, is there ever going to be a greater start in fantasy baseball history?
No, I guess I better win after that start, right?
You got to really screw it up if you don't, right? But I mean, talk about that. That's insane. That's like getting 4 guys almost.
Yeah, it's a really incredible combo to start the draft, right? Yeah. Obviously nobody predicted that exactly, but it was a good start.
Yeah. Okay. So Sean talks about getting 75-75 from your top 3. I mean, he did that about a decade ago, and it's very hard to get 75-75 from 3. But do you think of that? I mean, you're like you said, you're looking at 5 category guys. You're not looking for, I need a home run hitter here. You are looking at 5 category guys, right?
Do I think of Sean?
He's not a 5 category guy anymore. He used to be.
I think that was actually Lindy's theory.
No, that was Sean's theory. That was
I don't
Sean's
know.
theory. Damn it.
Lindy was always 75-75, or he talked about it a little bit. But no, I think in a 12-teamer, the online championship, more likely than not, you're going to start with hitters, right? The pitchers don't run up the board quite as much as the 15. So more teams start with 2 hitters, sometimes even 3. And you're going to see some of those nice hitting numbers right off the bat. Good starts with teams in the 12s.
Yeah, you're doing a bunch of draft champions, and I think you've done a couple onlines already. We're not seeing starting pitchers in the first round, and I've talked about it all week. When we get to the main event, are we getting 4 starting pitchers in the first round?
I think 3 for sure, maybe 4.
We're only getting 2 right now, I think.
Yeah, I think Crochet will get up there. I think so. And then we'll see after that. I mean, there's so many DeGrom lovers in this league that
he's not going that high.
If he has a healthy spring, he's going to zoom right up into 2, I think. And Wheeler's going to, there's going to be some pressure on some yellow. There always is.
It always is, but we'll see what happens. But so far, we have not seen it, but I would not be surprised if we have 4. And like you say, if DeGrom, boy, that'd be interesting if he has a good spring. There's enough DeGrom lovers in the NFBC that he could definitely shoot.
I know,
up, so.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of starting pitchers, you took Luis Castillo and Tarek Skubal in rounds 3 and 4. You go for power speed right away. Do you want 2 aces more times than not?
Yeah, I think you got to. Yep, I do. And in that particular case, I think I might have had Skubal a little bit higher in my rankings, but this is where that ADP game you can start playing a little bit, and I felt like I could get both if I did it the other way, and I was able to get both. And sometimes that's not a smart move to do, and you should just take the guy you want and get him where you can get him. But sometimes you can finesse it, and you get them both, and if you play it the right way, and sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I don't remember who I was talking to this week, but he got Skubal in the 5th round. And it was like, wow, he was really going that low. I didn't remember that, but he was. Huh? He came up as we got closer, but so all right. So the winning formula, we talked about this. Steve Goodwin's analyzed it. Got to have 2 good closers. The 2 closers carried people. You don't have to waste fab. I mean, that's easier said than done, right? To get 2 good closers.
Yeah, if that's the winning formula and Goodwin says it is, let's do it. I like it.
Well, you got 3 good ones, damn it. You got Raciel Iglesias, round 7, Craig Kimbrell in 10. You were really a Kimbrell believer? I can't believe
No,
you.
I really wasn't. I don't know what happened. So honestly, my plan was only 2 closers.
Yeah.
And you need a little bit more saves in online than to be 80, 90%, whatever you want to be.
Right.
So my plan was the one big one, like Iglesias, where I got him, was a good spot. And then my plan was Garcia later, Robert Garcia. But anyway, he in between. Suarez. I didn't.
Yeah, Suarez.
I got, I remember
you got him in round 18.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So that was my plan. I knew I was getting him late, but then in between, Kimbrel showed up, and I clicked it. I don't know. So now, but I still wanted to get Suarez later. So
you did. Okay.
So yeah.
So during the year, were you playing 3 closers at a time or not? How were you playing?
I think I was a lot of the time. 2, 2.5. Once in a while I did 3, and once in a while I did 2, but not. I didn't have to play all 3 all the time. I mean, there's so much pressure on Ks that you need to. If you can roll 7 starters, and you got 7 good ones, and I had some pretty good starters. You didn't even mention Chris Sale was my 3rd starter, I think. So so I had some good starting pitching to go with that.
Yeah. I mean, I think you've done a podcast with Steve Goodwin, but he's got that web that shows how you increase your percent. Have you seen this yet or not?
I have not been on a podcast with him, but I know he's crazy talented with this data. And,
well, he did the data out in Arizona Fall League Symposium, and he had this web of yours. And like you said, in 2 categories, you were like in the 50s or the 60s. Right. And every week, you just kept expanding that web out to the 90s. And it's because you made good fab pickups, but you also were playing with these closers. Like when you were at 65% in Ks, you then started 7 guys or 8 guys, and then you were able to hold off on this. I mean, you were kind of manipulating your roster with what you had, right?
Yeah, so I think I do track that, to be honest, right? So every week I put in my stats, and then I track percentage of total, and generally speaking, the sweet spot is that if you can get all your categories in that 80 to 90% range, then you're probably standing the best chance of gaining the most points in that area, versus having one 97%. There's not that many points to gain, right? So you kind of want to get those 50, 60%ers up there, and in some leagues you're not really trying to do that because you're just trying to win the league. It's out of the picture, but then at least you can focus on the leagues that have a chance at an overall, and then really start going after that overall instead of just the league.
Right. And that's where you were with saves. I think you were way up there, and you were able to play with that a little bit. So now you got to check it out. His web is unbelievable.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
It really does show how you were not just like out of the draft 90% in all the categories and you just held on there. You were working your roster through the whole year, and you had 2 categories that you really had to work on. And
I am convinced he knows my teams better than I do.
Oh, absolutely. He knows all of them better than you guys. I think if he gets his website up there for everyone to see, the NFBC community is just going to love it. It really is good stuff. But he was a hit out in Arizona. So
that's great.
All right. You talked about Chris Sale. You got him in round 8. Sale, always injury prone, kind of risky. Going to Atlanta seemed pretty good. Worth the risk last year?
Yeah, he was actually. So there wasn't a question about his rate stats, right? If he was going to pitch, the innings were going to be good. You just didn't know how many, right? Yeah. So that's kind of a good gamble to take in a 12.
Yeah, definitely. All right, looking at your roster, looking at a few bargains. You got Rhys Hoskins in round 17. Ronaldo Lopez in round 29. Did you hang on to him or not?
I did. Yeah. Thanks for picking one that I actually hung on to.
What'd you see in that guy? What'd you see in him?
Hoskins wasn't great, but
no, Hoskins wasn't great, but he was a Brewer, so
we need him to be good this year. I don't know. This lineup, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I know.
Lopez, So, I kept him, and I kept him until he got hurt towards the end, and then I should have actually kept him through that part as well, because when he came back, he was actually pretty strong again. But but I got quite a few innings out of him.
Well, I mentioned Hoskins because he was your only Brewer on this team. I mean, you're not drafting with your heart. There's no Willie Adames here. There's no Yelich. There's no Churio on this roster. What the hell?
Oh man, I wish I had some Churio. I did have some on another league, but not this one. Yeah.
So you don't draft with your heart, do you?
A little bit.
More in football or baseball?
Yeah, no, maybe that's
probably more in football. I would think.
Probably more in football. Yeah.
All right. So So again, this was a team that did need help during the year. I mean, you did make some great picks, but you didn't leave this thing saying, "Oh man, this is a killer roster." I mean, you did have some holes you had to pick up, and that's where Fab comes into play, right?
Yeah, it was a pretty active Fab
Mhm.
league. I think I made 82 moves, and that's more than average, I would say. It might be about average for me, but
Yeah.
more than the league average.
Mhm.
Um, and it was really active in the sense of I think I did a little analysis on it, and 85% of the total Fab was used up in this league. And a lot of
Yep.
times you see a owner left with 500 or 600. In this
Mm.
league, it was active, and almost all the Fab was used. So that was
Yeah.
not all leagues roll out that way always.
Yeah. No doubt. 85% of the 12 teamer. Here, we'll go right to regular here. He asked, what is the one stat that you can leave the draft short on that you can most easily fix during the season in Fab? So again, 12 team and 15 team, maybe a little
Yeah, it's a
different.
little different, right? A
Yeah.
12 team, you could probably leave short in saves and get some saves, I feel like. In a 12 team, there's different teams get far enough ahead, or you just have a little bit better players on your 12 team. So sometimes you can carry an extra guy or two as a save spec
Yep.
if you need to, and get those saves. But I'm not too worried if I leave a little bit short on saves on a 12.
Yeah. How about 15 team?
15, I don't know. 15
Yeah.
is so hard. Like,
You're
for
at the
sure,
mercy of every category, right?
I mean, the hardest one to predict are the ratio category or the average, right? So
Yeah.
you can't afford to take. For me, I can't afford to take too many of the Schwarber types, and I'm always conscious about average.
Are you? Yeah. Okay. All right. Your first Fab pickup was March 24th while you were still in Las Vegas. Luis Hill for $62. What'd you see there at the live events?
Yeah, I heard all the smart people talking about him, so I thought, man, I could. And then I heard that he was announced a starter, so and then you've got an early Fab run, right, for the
Hmm.
teams that have been drafted already. So
Yep.
that's a good opportunity, and thankfully I wasn't drafting at the time or something. I had a little time to do the Fab, and yeah, it was great. So I grabbed him, and that was a good pickup. I think I used him for 100 innings or something like that at the end of
Yeah.
the year. So
Very good. How
yeah,
about Bretton Doyle on March 31st for 3? Did you hang on to him?
no,
No.
I
Well, you were
should have.
smart for a little while.
Yeah, I know. I was hoping you weren't going to put that question on there. Yeah.
All right, talk about a couple other Fab pickups. Again, I don't know if you kept them or not. I just saw Shane Baz, 117 on June 16th. James
Yeah.
Wood, 137 on July 7th.
Yeah,
Lawrence
so that was the
Butler.
big one right there, James Wood. He
Okay,
helped
yeah,
my team a lot. So that
yeah,
that and I think that was right after the 4th of July. That's
yep,
when he was first eligible in your pool, I think, on
yep,
on that date. So um, I wasn't in a league where he was drafted and then dropped, so he wasn't available till then. So
yep,
I was able to put in an aggressive bid. I think 137, I think is what you said.
yep,
Yep. So that was a bigger bid, and that's the other thing about 12s versus 15s.
yeah.
You
Those,
can do a couple of those big bids, but you can survive with not a lot of money, right? You can
right,
do a lot of $1 and $2 bids in the 12s, where
right.
those same $1 and $2 bids in the 15 are, the caliber of players quite a bit higher. And if that was available in the 15, they
Hmm.
would go for a lot higher.
Yeah, definitely. All right, talk about Fab strategy. I mean, you national champions always look at your rosters at the end of the year and post everything. And I can't believe how you churn through your rosters. I mean, I'm such a novice. When I draft somebody, I don't want to get rid of him. I love him. I drafted him. I don't want to get rid of him. But you're churning through 3, 4 guys a week. How come?
Yeah. Yep. I sure am. So it's a balance of what I need for the next week, as well as what that player potentially will do for the rest of the year. So as the season moves along, your target changes a little bit, or your parameters change.
Yeah,
At the beginning of the year, you're thinking more long term, right? You're not really worried about the next week. You're thinking about players that can help you for the rest of the year, and then as the season goes, and as you get to certain spots on your roster, or in the season, you're looking at the next week, or if you see a juicy matchup, 8-game week, or a good 2-start pitcher, and you got to lose attachment to where you drafted the guy. In my opinion, it's all about what the new reality is of what this guy's going to do for the rest of the year, right?
yeah,
So when you drafted the guy, you thought he was a $30 player. The reality of it is he's lost some skills, or he's got some new playing time opportunity, and now he's up or down, and what that new value for the rest of the year is, that's your cost now. Who cares what round you picked him or how many dollars you paid for him in the auction, right? So you kind of got to think that way. So I always ground myself a little bit with whose ever rankings you want to use. I like the Bad X for hitters, or ATC or Rotowire, or whoever you want to use, and I just want a log of what the rest of the season value is, dollars. So that just keeps me from dropping a Doyle, for example.
I hear you. All right, you finished with 93.07% of available points, sixth highest in Rotowire Online Championship history, and you still almost didn't win the damn thing. So at the beginning of the year, what is your percentage that you are setting as your goals? I mean, everybody says 80%, but if you're going to win the national title, it's got to be higher. What do you set them at?
Well, I think Goodwin says 80 is mythical, right? Like that's a myth. So no, I still use 80.
Yeah.
I do. I put 80 down, but I do track it, and I just use 80 just to keep it balanced, right? So I just want to see every category at least 80%, and then it turns green on my sheet. And if I can get to 90%, then it turns a dark green, like your Packer green.
Yeah.
So my goal is to get all Packer green. But,
I mean, 90%. You got to have 90% to win the overall, but that can't possibly be a goal, or you'll never make it.
No, I get discouraged if I don't see any green. So you gotta keep it. And the reality of it is that you're going to have some categories that are going to go way over, right? So if you have a good team, you're going to have some 90s in there. So, but my goal is just to make sure that all 8, all the categories end up, all 10 end up at 80%.
All right, we've had 16 different overall champions in this contest, 16 years. Nobody's ever won it twice. Nobody's ever repeated. And this list is pretty damn good. Lindy Hinkleman, Chad Schroeder, James Tamoni, Michael O'Brien, Andrew Geller. With so many teams in this contest, is it possible to win this twice?
Not likely.
All right, John's dead meat. He's dead meat.
Yeah, I don't. It'd be really hard to do that, I think. I mean, statistically, not very likely, but I think I'll give it a shot, right?
Yeah,
so,
why not, right?
Or 2 or 3 or 12 shots.
All right. All right. Well, it's good stuff, and good luck there. All right. Let's talk about your career in the NFBC. I know we've done a podcast before, but some people may not know it. You're a Hall of Famer, but I want to show people how you started out as a newbie at one time, took a little while to become a winner, to become a legend, and, we're trying to encourage more people to join the NFBC. And hell, they are. I mean, we had over, I think, 26,000 teams last year, and we're on that pace right now for baseball. So it's unreal. But you joined us in 2006. That was our third year. It was actually the first year that we tried offering online drafts. We did $100 leagues, and I know you did a couple of $100 satellite leagues, but you also did the Chicago Main Event League. Did you do that with Jack Hahn or
yeah,
what?
I think so. Yeah. So I think my first Main Event League was with Jack. So he was doing baseball, or he was doing football for sure. Yeah. And then I think we decided to do baseball together, maybe, I think is how it was. But we did that for a couple of years at least. And then at some point in time, I took my own baseball team and he took his own baseball team. And then at some point he dropped the baseball part of it and just focused on football. But he got me introduced into it. He was doing a football league in Chicago somewhere. I think it was at the Rosemont, Oakbrook, or Rosemont, one of the hotels in Rosemont and Marriott, I think. And I walked into there and I go, oh my goodness, this is something else, right? So I don't even know if it must have been NFFC. Did you guys do?
Yeah, we did them there. We did it in 2004, 2005, 2006. We were there. So
so then that turned into, hey, they do baseball too, and then I was more of a baseball guy. Like I did some baseball growing up, a little bit, just college kind of stuff, right? Sandbox or something like that, one of those points leagues.
So this is really your first high stakes or anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Jack was doing, I know he was doing WCOFF out there. We would always do the Chicago the weekend before for
Right.
football. So
Oh, okay.
I think he
Okay.
would do that, and then he would
Yeah.
do WCOFF out there.
Yeah,
So,
I think that is the case.
all
Yep.
right. So
Yep.
Jack introduced you to that.
Yeah.
So,
Blame him.
all right. 2007, 2008, you did auctions for the first time. We had $650 ones. We couldn't fill 1250 ones in Chicago, so we went with 650. You jumped
Oh,
in
yeah.
2000,
That's right.
2008. Were you hooked right away on the auction
Oh,
format?
man, auctions are great. It's so fun, right? Like, there's that. Yeah, and in Chicago, there was just a real true cast of characters as well that added to the auction experience.
Yeah.
I think Jack would come even after he quit. He wanted to come along just to go to the auction because it was so
Hang out.
entertaining. Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, talk about the auctions. You're in on every single player, right? I mean,
Yeah, you
people
can be,
don't
right.
realize if someone's nominated, you're looking to see what you value you have at him. He's too low, you jump in just to force, and it's just a constant 4 hours of intensity, right?
Right, it is. If you're Jay Lyons, you're not looking at anything. You're just throwing numbers out whenever you want. But yeah.
Another beer.
and he's actually pretty good too. So yeah, I think he's coming to Vegas and he's doing one of the auctions. So that'll be great.
He signed up for 2 of them, I believe.
Perfect.
So
that'll be great.
Yeah, it'd be good stuff. All right, 2010 was a big year for you. We hosted a main event in St. Louis that weekend at Pujols' restaurant. We were with Fanball, I believe, at that time, and so we rented the Pujols restaurant, and I believe Kyle Elfrink and Kay Adams, believe it or not, were the facilitators. Kay was working for Fanball at that time, and Kay and Kyle went over there. I think you met Dan Kenyon for the first time. Talk about that St. Louis one and what that did for you.
Kay was there?
Kay was there. Yes, she was.
She definitely was there. Yeah, no, that was a fun time. So it was at a Pujols 5, I think it was called, and it was a very quaint setting, and it wasn't a lot of room in the draft room part, I remember. And then we did a draft, and then we all got to eat dinner and got to meet everybody and talk to everybody, and it was a great time. I think maybe 2 years in a row you did that, right?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Even after we left there, we still did it at Pujols. Yep.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yep. And it was so much fun. That was my first time I traveled to one, right? Chicago, you have some memorable ones as well, but I do have some fond memories of going to St. Louis because at the time, Jack and I were still splitting the team. And then we took the road trip with Mike Diedrich, who also had a team. Okay. He was another Chicago guy. Yeah. And Mike is so opinionated on some players. So then we had to get him off of the players we were on. And we just went back and forth and he couldn't tell. It was a lot of fun.
Fun little 4-hour drive down to St. Louis.
And then the way back, it was total analysis of the track. Can you believe that guy went in this one and he took that guy? But then really the part that you were referencing, just meeting the people, I met Dan Kenyon and his wife there. And there's a bunch of other players. I can't remember them all, but that was really fun to meet these guys for the first time, and at that time your message board was pretty lively and a thing. And, you didn't know some of these people by their name, but instead you knew what their message board handle was, right? So it was fun to meet all these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we were in St. Louis in 2012. You won the league title there, your first main event there, and you finished 4th overall. So now that you got a little taste of the overall, I'm just reminding you, just so you know, any thoughts on, wow, I could win this damn thing?
No, I don't. I guess I never really think that, no, but it was good to experience a little bit, to win a league, right? That was always the first goal, is to win a main event.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you won the main event league title in 2012, won another one in 2013, finished 8th overall. So you went 4th overall, 8th overall. That's when people started calling you the quiet assassin, just so you know. You do know they call you that, don't they?
You call me something different, Greg. I don't know.
I said other people are calling you the quiet assassin. You don't know.
I don't know why they call me that. I don't.
Well, you are pretty quiet.
Yeah, I guess so.
And you're an assassin.
I try to be. I'm less personable than at a draft table. I'm just focused on the draft, and I probably.
That's what a quiet assassin is, for crying out loud.
Well, I don't. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
I don't mean to be rude to anybody, for sure.
No, No, killing people isn't rude. That's just part of the job. That's what you do. All right. We started a 12-team NFBC National Championship in 2014. We call it the Prime Time. I love the Prime Time.
Yeah,
I really thought
that was like a 12-team main event type
it was
of
a
thing.
12-team main event, and there was this veterans who said, no, that's going to hurt the main event.
Right.
Don't do it. And I kept doing it for like 3-4 years. You finished second overall the very first year, 2014. Then Chad started dominating it. And then next thing you know,
so good.
He was so, listen, he was, if not the best baseball player, I mean, he just grinded. And while he's very, very good at football, he was damn good at baseball.
He's got a knack for it for sure.
He's got a knack for it. So, all right. So you finished second overall. Again, are you thinking I can win one of these damn things? You're second, fourth, and eighth now.
Yeah, maybe. That's always the goal, is to try to maybe it all come together one year and you can win it. So.
There you go. All right. At least you're thinking about it now. So first time you joined us in Las Vegas. Now you're starting to really travel. We're no longer in St. Louis. So you come out to Vegas. Talk about going out to Vegas in 2014, because again, now you're meeting a whole new crew of.
Yeah, it was fantastic, right? The whole camaraderie of the events, and your team does a great job, Greg, with the setup, with hosting everything, and the food, the refreshments. Just a great time, very well organized, and it's a great experience.
Yeah, I remember you brought Doug Gruber a couple years later to the football. That was Labor Day weekend. We had a suite upstairs at the Bellagio. Jeff Erickson was up there. My brother was up there. I think CJ Kaltenbach was up there, and it was fun. And that was the first time I had met Doug. And I think Doug was like, hey, this is a good camaraderie atmosphere. It's not just high stakes competition. The camaraderie is so good, isn't it?
Yeah, and a lot of friendships have developed from that, right? So Doug is one of my best friends, and we do a lot of baseball stuff together, and preseason chat and draft strategy, player analysis, and then in season fab and lineups, and we're discussing it all. So yeah, it's good.
I trust you're in a group text thread that helps as well, though. I mean, seriously, people are in a group thread, not so much just on strategy, staying in touch with people, but then also some player notes and stuff, correct?
Yeah, I am. So I'm in a couple of them. Yep. So one was with Kenyon and Mager and Scott Davis and Chad Fleming and Brian Pogel. So that one's great. Dan's got stories, and oh man, the wealth of how much knowledge that guy's got about baseball,
baseball history.
It's unbelievable, right? It's great.
Yeah.
And then I'm in another one, more a Midwest group. Russell Wyatt and Geis and Doug and
the Chicago guys.
Matt Anderson and Cosley. So then we learned a lot more than just about baseball with that last guy. So
no, absolutely. Keep the politics out of those threads, please.
We have to refocus it once in a while.
Every once in a while, it gets off the rails. I can imagine. Yes. All right. One area we have improved greatly, I think, is the auction leagues. And listen, when you're doing 2 or 3 auctions at once, it's hard to find good auctioneers. We always did have Brady, but we had Rex and Jack for a while, and now Kim's done a great job.
Rex.
So
Rex is still trying to say Tulowitzki. Oh man, he always had that was so
pronunciation
funny.
Problems. Yes,
there's a couple players, but as long as he was in the league, and that was always.
All right, give Brady some flowers, because he does do a good job as an auctioneer, and Kim's done a good job as well. She's been.
Brady, I like until a story breaks out between going twice and sold, and you're the guy having the bid, right? Then you don't want a story, right? So, and Kim is really, really good. So you've got a really good auctioneer with Kim as well. So
good.
Yeah, they're great. So.
Yeah, the software is good out there too, and everything goes good. So all right,
it is.
Let's talk one more time and reminisce. 2018. I mean, it was a dream year, right? You win the main event title, you win the overall title, you finished second in overall in the Rotowire, 4th overall in the cut line. I mean, you almost won that damn $75,000 cash bonus, which I would be happy for, because I've already paid an insurance company for it. So I want people to win that one. But talk about that one. And if I recollect, when I looked at those rosters, you didn't have similar players. You had a
Yeah,
different
I must.
roster.
Yeah, I think I remember that too. It must have been one or two that
Well,
were
yeah, a couple,
carryovers,
but out of
I
30, no.
yeah, I don't know. I guess I just not sure, Greg. I don't really remember. I moved pretty quick to the
I
next
got good memory. I'm
next year.
telling you. I'm telling you. I think you had like 3 or 4 on those same teams that finished first overall and second overall. So
Yeah, that's good.
when we come to Vegas, I'll tell you
Yeah,
exactly which
yeah.
3 players
Fill
those
me in.
were. All right.
All right.
All right. So you won the overall title in the 50 DCs. And I remember when you won it, I texted you. I said, did you really have to win the free main event title? You couldn't leave that for somebody else?
Oh, I was worried you were going to put that on there at some point. So far, I've dodged that for how many years that I played the 50s and I won the 50, right? Like,
Yeah.
and honestly, I just played it because I wanted some experience on a fast clock on a 12-team format, just as a prep. And I thought, well, this isn't going to add much to my season, and it's better than spending the 350 for the OC. And it's just a way to do a nightly draft or whatever. I did one and I did another and did another. And then a couple of them were pretty good. And then, but what I didn't recognize or I failed to figure out was that it was going to take way longer than I thought for lineups, right? Like I forgot about I knew I wasn't having fab,
right?
But
you still got to set your
lineups, and I had too many of them. But fortunately, one of them made it to the top, so that's good.
You did have to win that main event free title, didn't you?
Yeah.
Couldn't leave it for somebody else.
No, I do.
You could have donated it.
I could have. I should have.
All right. You've won 3 main event titles last 2 years. 2 of them last year, or 2 of them 2 years ago, and 1 last year. So you're on a roll. Have you mastered this 15-teamer as well? We already said you mastered a 12-teamer. Have you mastered the 15-teamer?
No, for sure not. I haven't mastered either of them really. And cut line, I got to figure out. Like before we don't have cut line, I got to get.
Yeah.
I got to get one in the. I can't get one in that last bracket. I don't know. You need like 3 more fab periods or something.
Well, that is fun when you get to the final table of 20.
Yeah,
you're sitting there with a 1 in 20 chance, and so it's great.
Right.
And
now it's a very tournament-based contest, right?
Yeah.
So
no, it is an important year for that contest because if we can't sell it out, we won't do it again. But I do think we're going to sell it out. We're over 500 right now. We'll get to 1,000, shut it off, and then next year we'll go to 1,100, and then go to 1,200. Okay. So that's
the goal. The other version of doing the best ball one, yeah.
Yeah, that one's on pace for almost 800 and some as well. So if the 2 of them get 1,800, that's more than what we used to get in the cut line. So nobody does best ball in baseball, and so we're out there doing it.
Right. Yeah.
So hopefully we can grow it, and I do think I wish we did have a $75,000 grand prize.
I think your formula and your programming is good, right? It calculates it the right way. It puts the right players in the right spot in terms of the whoever
optimal scoring.
Optimal scoring. Yep. And actually, the point system I think is fair. I mean, it dings relievers a little bit. You see a lot of starting pitching going way higher.
Right.
Relievers, but.
No, I think KJ and Zola did a good job on that. They did. They did the points. I didn't do that. They did a great job with that. So, hey, let's talk about balancing both leagues or both sports, because I don't know how you do it. I mean, how you do football during the baseball season and how you do baseball during the football season, and it's insane. I mean, how do you do it?
For the last couple of years, not very well on the football, right? So
on the football side,
I don't know. Baseball, I love a lot more than the football, right? Yeah. So, I do like them both, and especially when the season's going, I like football, but it's hard when they're both going on. And if you got baseball teams in contention and you're really focused on that, and I've been fortunate to have that situation a couple times now. So, but I do, once football starts, I'm a pretty big Packer fan, so I do follow the NFL a fair amount, and obviously you just get there's so much content on football. You get halfway through the baseball year and they flip the football right away on the radio, and you can't. But I don't know. I'm probably going to do less football and just keep doing a good amount of baseball, but we'll see.
There you go. There's not many that do this like you.
No, hats off to like Gecko and others that do it like really good.
No, I mean, Gecko won his 3rd national championship in the NFFC. He's a Hall of Famer in baseball. not many people can do that. So
No,
hats off
really
to all
impressive.
those guys.
Clark as well. Clark's a really good football player too.
Clark's
Football,
good in both
yeah,
as well.
yeah,
He's won
yeah,
overall titles in both.
yeah.
Not many, but kudos to all of those guys. All right, last one here.
Sure.
KDS for you this year. What
Ooh.
what are you putting?
Let's see. I think for a 12-teamer, I like to kind of be in the middle.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I just think in a 12-teamer, there's so many players that drop, and I'll probably still do 1, 2, maybe first, just to get the advantage of those first 2 guys. But then the middle, just because I think there's so many players that fall, and strange things happen in the 12-teamers from time to time. So I think in a 15-teamer, I want to be 1, 2, maybe 3. And then maybe late middle, something like that, maybe towards the end.
It's interesting. You are the first one this week that said the middle, because most of them said 1, 2, 3, maybe even 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then back to the back end.
Yeah. So I think we got to start thinking though about, like, when we get to main events, right now we're looking at the current ADP, right? We got
when the starting pitchers get pushed
ADP,
up,
right? What's that going to look like? So
yeah.
Maybe you want to be middle and get one of those yellows at 6, 7, 8, right? Because that's probably where they're going to go up to, right? We'll see.
We'll see. Should be interesting. All right. Well, we're going to see you tomorrow. Thanks a lot, John, for joining me tonight. But tomorrow you're going to join me on a live stream.
I've never done that, Greg. So I don't know if I can draft and talk at the same time, but we'll try. You're bringing a gabber on, I heard.
That's why I've got NFBC Hall of Famer Sean Childs. He will do all the talking.
Perfect.
You just draft,
all right.
And then he'll make fun of your picks. You can make a snide comment back and get back to drafting. So
okay, that works. I think there's 4 or 5 sign-up spots left, maybe.
I think there's 4 or 5 left. And again,
jump on in.
8 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow, live stream right here on our YouTube channel. John's going to be drafting. Me, John, and Sean Childs will be commenting, so it's going to be a lot of fun. So, John, thanks for joining me tonight, and thanks, everybody, for joining us. And, again, check us out tomorrow, all right? Thanks, everyone. Have a good night.
Thank you for joining us on the High Stakes Fantasy Network podcast. To get in the game, go to playnfc.com.
Hey, thanks.